Most commercial contracts contain a provision called a force majeure clause. A force majeure clause is designed to deal with things beyond a particular party's control. So things such as acts of war, acts of terrorism, storm, flood, fire, that sort of thing, which prevents a particular party performing their obligations under a contract will actually be covered. In short, a party who can't perform because of some problem of that nature will be protected by the force majeure clause, and it will mean that they are not expected to perform their side of the contract. However, the devil is in the detail, and most contracts will not say anything about disease. Hence, in usual circumstances, a force majeure situation would not be that such as a swine flu epidemic or a pandemic, as we believe may of course occur later in the year. The implications therefore are that if your contract does not contain an express and specific clause which deals with the implications of problems resulting from some disease, or in our case a swine flu pandemic, then you will not be protected under your contract and could be at risk of a claim for breach of contract, for penalties kicking in under other provisions in the contract because of late performance or non-performance. The consequence of all of that, of course, is that it could be a disaster from the point of view of any business if they are either unable to perform a commercial contract, or alternatively they are so late that penalties kick in, and effectively the economic situation as a result means that the contract is unsustainable. It can't be performed at a reasonable and proper value. It is no defence to say that you have a situation with swine flu to any claim for a breach of contract unless there is a suitable clause in your contract that covers disease, or in our case a flu pandemic. Swine flu is likely to be a problem for many employers. As the Daily Telegraph reported on the 6th of August, we are a nation of skivers. And what the Daily Telegraph was suggesting is that one or two employees might be using the flu pandemic as an excuse to have a few days off. Now, obviously that's an additional problem for any employer to have to contend with. Aside from the situation where there are genuinely sick employees who can't turn in for work, the question becomes, what would an employer do were the employer to find that employees were just not turning in for some reason related to the flu pandemic, but for non-genuine reasons? What we'd recommend that most employers do is undertake a full and comprehensive review of their employment contracts to make sure that the employer is in a position to control all employment situations. Likewise, we'd also recommend that there is a full and formal review of employment grievance procedures, employment disciplinary procedures, and in particular things like staff handbooks, which often give employees guidelines on what they can and can't do in any given work situation. Many employers and many commercial organisations don't actually use any formal trading terms and conditions at all. Sometimes they may rely on an exchange of letters with a client or a customer. Sometimes the client or customer will actually provide a set of trading terms and conditions to the party themselves. In short, many contractors take on jobs in circumstances where they are told by the employer what the situation will be. One of the most important things really is to cover the position in some way when we start talking about swine flu. And the party who got in last in terms of saying the terms upon which they are doing the job may be the party that prevails.